He's the chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. Let me get right to a potential criminal issue. Do you believe bureaucrats over at the Department of Veterans Affairs at facilities around the country were deliberately fudging some of the numbers so that they might qualify for bonuses?
I do. In fact, that's why I wrote the Attorney General this morning and I asked him to launch an investigation into the activities that have taken place now all across the country. And as you've already talked about, it's well over 40 facilities that are under investigation.
That sounds to me like a crime, potentially. You want the FBI, the Department of Justice, to get involved and start a criminal investigation?
I do. And interestingly enough, last night during our late night hearing on the floor of the House of Representatives, we were doing the Commerce State Justice Appropriation Bill, and we had an amendment, in fact, that pluses up the FBI budget by $1 million in order for them to start this investigation.
Have you have you called Eric Holder, the Attorney General, written to him and said, please investigate?
Yes, I wrote a letter this morning. I made the comment yesterday when I called for Secretary Shinseki's resignation. I said I was also going to talk to Eric Holder. I did so by letter today. Be interesting to see. So far, he's been pretty much hands off, but I think the facts are too many now for them to be able to look the other way.
Congressman Drew is still with us. He's got a question for you.
Mr. Chairman, so much of this issue seems to be rooted in the fact that the VA for a long time has not listened to just about anybody about its management, didn't listen to the Inspector General for years, didn't listen to the Government Accountability Office, and quite frankly has not listened to or responded to your committee for the last year, maybe year and a half now. Since this most recent crisis began in Phoenix, has there been any more open communication between you, your staff, the minority side of your committee, and either the White House or the VA administration on all these problems?
Well, first of all, the minority staff and the majority staff work very well together, so there is no daylight between the two of us as we go forward in trying to fix the problem. But I will tell you, since our hearing on the 9th of April in regards to these wait times and the deaths that occurred while waiting, they have gone, VA themselves have gone into a bunker mode, and we're not getting calls or contacts from anybody. And what little bit of information they're providing to us is from very low-level individuals. In fact, I'm sure you recognized last night as we talked about the lack of progress in getting the subpoena fully fulfilled. We got no information from Undersecretary Joan Mooney, whose job it is to be the congressional liaison between the administration and Congress.
Mr. Chairman, you want the Secretary, Eric Shinseki, to resign, right?
I do.
What about the deputies? If he resigns, the deputy secretary becomes the acting secretary. That person is Sloan Gibson. I assume you know Sloan Gibson. You have confidence he could do a better job?
I've known Sloan Gibson for a number of years, ever since he started running the USO, which is an outstanding organization. I think that he has organizational skills that, in fact, could help the Department of Veterans Affairs get out of the problem that they're in. But it's much larger than whoever is in the position of secretary. It is the bureaucracy itself that thinks that they are more important than the veterans that they serve. And I can tell you, the people that go to work every day, mostly at the line level, are doing the right thing. But the bureaucrats at the middle that I've been warning the secretary for years now are not telling you the truth. They will not give you the bad news. They'll only give you the good news. And unfortunately, things have come to pass that we in fact anticipated with the secretary.
If he does resign and Sloan Gibson became the acting secretary, would you support his becoming the secretary if the president were to nominate Sloan Gibson to become Secretary of Veterans Affairs?
I will support whoever the president puts in that position. I have told Secretary Shinseki time and time again, we don't want to be an adversary. We want to be a partner in trying to resolve the problems that exist at the VA. But there seems to be an animosity between the administration and Congress. They have relegated us to basically a debating society, and finally, people are paying attention, and we're able to shine a light on really the arrogance of this administration and certainly the VA, and the fact that Congress has been trying to provide the oversight and they will not respond.
There are some suggesting, Mr. Chairman, that the VA, as we know it, may be beyond repair. It's time to start thinking of privatizing at least elements of the Veterans Administration. Would you support that?
I think it is time to look at giving veterans a choice of being able to go outside of the system. What I want to reassure the veteran service organizations out there is that we're not talking about trying to dismantle the entire VA system, because certainly VA provides care and expertise in areas that nobody else does. Traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, spinal cord injury. There are things that people experience in combat and serving in the military that nobody else can treat. The VA does that well. But what we're seeing is increased number of people coming into the system, overwhelming the system, and it's not a matter of VA not having the dollars, because they're going to carry over $1 billion or $500 million this year anyway. They have the dollars there to have already sent these people out to non-VA health care, and I think that is the answer, especially to the immediate problem that exists today, and that is not just at Phoenix, but it is many, many other installations around this country.
We have one final question from Drew, who broke this whole story. Go ahead, Drew.
Congressman, have you been able to determine conclusively that the cover-up of the data, the manipulation of the data, is directly tied in many cases to bonuses, whether or not these administrators received bonuses? Was there a financial game to gaming the system?
That's what most people suspect. It's certainly what I suspect. Why else would somebody work so hard to manipulate the numbers, to create not one, two, but maybe 3 lists at different facilities to make it appear that they're keeping their numbers at the 14-day level that VA tries to ascribe to? The problem that exists out there, and I think Dr. Lynch admitted so in the meeting last night, where he said, we have lost our compass. We do not think that the goal that we set was used properly, and people, again, went in, found a way to game the system, and the criminality part comes in where they were able to recoup or inure their own self-worth by getting bonuses and also by getting new jobs or getting promoted.
Jeff Miller is the chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
I want to thank Drew as well for the excellent reporting he's been doing.